Welcome, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. The keener amongst you will have noticed Vicky Poole sitting in the virtual studio. And from tender response, a method of finding, applying, and winning tenders, that is public sector contracts that can last years and give you a solid income. Today's topic is all about supplier assessments and requirements. As usual, I know nothing about nothing. Vicky, school me, please.
So when you're responding to public sector tenders, they normally ask suppliers to have a minimum benchmarking standards. And they categorize and they capture this information through an SQQ, because we all love it, TLA. It's a standard qualification questionnaire. I know.
Oh, good Lord.
Now, there is a template that's issued out by Crown Commercial Services, which is the governing body who looks after public procurements. And as a result, that is a template, there is a standard format, and there's things that you need to get asked for. So they ask you for persons of significant control, whether you have a parent company or a parent company, otherwise known, I like to call them a grandparent company. Apparently that hasn't taken over. It hasn't took on yet, but never mind. They ask you about whether you have quality processes or whether you're ISO 9001, if you've got GDPR policies, whether you conform to modern slavery statements. Well, actually, what they ask you is, are you a defined company under modern slavery statement? And they're like, a defined company. What's a defined company? A defined company is if you trade 36 million and above. It's 36 million and some change. So I say 36 million and above. So really large companies. And they then go on to ask you if you are a defined company, have you completed your annual reporting? If so, provide a link, which a lot of companies won't have that because they're under trading under 36 million. And if you're not a defined company, you need to provide your modern slavery statement. And that's where people get a bit lost, because modern slavery isn't just, having people that work in sweatshops. Being compliant with modern slavery is providing a platform for your staff to be able to flag if they think they've spotted any slavery in the UK or in their workplace. Now, there's different regulations required for UK and European modern slavery. So if you're trading in Europe, you need to have two different standards or two different bits of your process. And the last bit, well, there's two more bits really. The last bit that's included within the standard qualification questionnaire is the piece about carbon reduction. So this is a new one that came through in April this year. They ask you to include your scope emissions for 1, 2, and 3 for your last evaluated period. And then they ask you to include a copy of your carbon reduction plan in a URL, which of course means that you need to have your carbon reduction plan on your website, which a lot of companies don't. The brand new piece that Crown Commercial Services have added in is the financial assessment, which looks back at your last couple of years of trading and gives you a red, amber, green across a series of elements. So this is it's a new liquidity measuring tool to make sure that the companies that they're going to be appointing or awarding contracts to, the awarding body, the council, the ministry, department of, is aware of your company's financial state. Now, the question I normally get asked at this time is, Jesus, Vic, that's a lot of stuff to include. Do you need to include that on every one?
Right.
And of course, the answer to that question is no, because...
Well, that's not obvious.
No, it's not. So within your standard qualification question, there are questions that you have to respond to if your contract is worth 5 million and over. There are questions that you need to respond to if your contract is 10 million and over. So you need to always read the category headings at the top. I've had this a lot recently, where people have been completing their qualification documents and stressing about not having the right information when I've pointed them to the section header at the top. Section 7 is a good one. Section 8 is another one, where it says for contracts over this value, please complete the below, which means if your contract is 4.9 million, you need to complete that section. ATFQ.
It does seem like a lot of extra stress.
It does a lot. So with the standard qualification document, with the questionnaire being so big, I mean, when you look at it, it can, depending on how it's been formatted, it can be up to 23 pages long. So when you have a document that big that you need to complete, people don't often read the questions and they just go straight to the next space to complete.
Yeah. I've been guilty of that myself in the past.
Yeah. And of course, when you're looking at the template, there are also questions that you need to respond to that don't have an area that needs to be completed. So a great one here is if you're using subcontractors. So the subcontractors and the quality statement, you don't, it's a question. So the box goes across the page, but there's not a response box beneath. So you include the written response in the same box as the question. A lot of people miss that. I was chatting with a client 4 weeks ago, who was rejected from a 2-stage procurement process because they had missed 2 questions on their supplier qualification document.
Right.
And these are the 2 questions that were missed because they were just running through and looking for the spaces to include information rather than reading the document.
You've got to, it's another version of RTFM, isn't it?
It's a hard one.
Read the flipping document.
Yes.
All right. So is there, I mean, other than saying don't miss out, stop just looking for the bits to enter bits into, is there any other good advice we can give people?
The other really good piece of advice is about understanding the documents that you need to include. So in the last 12 months, councils have been really heavily targeted by cyber attacks.
Oh.
And councils themselves aren't directly being targeted. So you'll have like a school that will be targeted by a cyber attack, and they're going to look for supplier information, or they will find out someone who's delivering services to a council, and then they will target that one specific supplier. I'm so sorry, my computer is doing something funky and I got a bit lost there in terms of the video. So I'll just repeat that again. So councils have been impacted by cyber attacks a lot within the last 12 months in particular, and they're not being targeted directly. They're going, it's their suppliers that are being targeted. So right. A lot of companies now are asking companies to have cyber essentials, which is an evaluation of your evaluation of the softwares and the way that your business operates. And it's a process that's done once a year. You can go Cyber Essentials Plus, which is the continuous monitoring, and councils are asking to have it. It's not an expensive tool. You can do this. You can find people to do this for you for a couple of £100. It's not masses. The other piece that councils are asking people to have, it's not a mandatory element, but there's an encouragement towards it, and that is cyber insurance. So any business that is holding or using client data should have cyber insurance. A lot of organizations don't, and they need to in case they get hacked, because if you lose data, then technically your company's liable, and your business insurance won't cover you for that.
Wow.
So that's another thing that there's a strong encouragement, but there's no requirement. I know, it just never stops, does it? It just never stops.
So there is further information, I believe, that you have available to help people make better decisions.
I try to help people make better decisions at every stage in the process. So if you were to look up our website, tenderresponse.co.uk, and look at our resources, there are some really helpful downloads there for businesses looking to get into tenders. There is a qualification tool where you can look at what the client is asking you for as part of the tender. And it's a scoring matrix. It's a live document, so you can complete you can update the questions to make it relevant for your business, and you can score yourself on a 1 to 5 in the spider chart at the top, the web chart, and we'll update to see whether or not that's a good fit for you, whether or not that's a good tender. We've also got 10 tips for tendering, and because it's me, you never just get the 10, you get a few extras as well. It's all about how you can make the most of your tenders. And in there, we talk about insurances and compliance. I don't tell you where to find them in the bids, because depending on your industry, they're going to be hidden in different places. A good place to start if you're looking for any sort of accreditations that your client or the procurer is asking for will be in the statement of requirements document, you often referred to as Schedule 2 or Appendix 2, and depending on what process the council is coming out for procurement. So that's a good one. If you're getting a bit lost and stuck and you don't really know where to start with tenders, but you know that public sector is an area that you want to start exploring, I'll be hosting a half two, so 2024 half two sales kickoff for public sector on the 9th of October. This is brand new. It's not on the website yet, but it should be on there today. Anyone who is looking at public sector and doesn't quite know if it's right for them, I've got a series of industry experts, plus myself, obviously, talking about life in public sector and finding work. It's a 2-hour whistle stop tour. 2 hours and whistle stop don't normally go together. They do here. So we've got speakers, presenters, demonstrations, panel topics, talking about everything from finding business in public sector, talking about social value and sustainability, which now equates to 25% of public sector tenders. And also, we're talking about cyber in there as well. So organizations are going to be aware and made aware of their commitments and what's needed from them should they choose to respond to any public sector tenders. There's going to be some freebies, there's going to be some giveaways and demonstrations. So if public sector is something that's been on your radar, or you're not entirely sure what you need in order to respond, so the earlier part of this video where we're talking about different elements that's needed for different parts of the bid depending on the size of the contract, then joining in our free webinar on the 9th of October is the one for you. It's the Public Sector 2024 H2 Sales Kickoff. I tried to find a shorter name, but just couldn't.
That is just excessively long. It
is excessively long.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, because it's not general sales, it's public sector, and it's H2 Sales Kickoff. And we're doing it in October because tenders spike in November through to January. So it has to be done in October. So it was just too long. And I had too much coffee by that point.
I think the truth will out. All right, cool. Now, you also have a WhatsApp telephone number, which I'm about to pop up on the screen.
We do, yes. So most of the team here work on WhatsApp. It's a great way to keep in touch with our clients when working on bid responses. And it's also a way that we use to field and farm responses to questions. So you can reach the team. It's woman and man. We have a token man in the team now.
Woman and man. A token man. So you can pop in any tender question.
Token man. Yeah. He's got more cats than me, so I don't know whether or not that has any bearing. I know. I'm a crazy cat lady, for those of you who don't know. So yes, so you can pop in tender questions. You can ask us any moves as it changes, questions or topics. How do I find out this tender? If I'm looking to get onto Adam Procure, what's the website to register? That's a good one. I had that one quite a lot in the last couple of weeks. There must be a tender out there that people are interested in.
Yeah.
Very good at responding. Usually within 24 hours, depending on what the team's doing.
All right. Well, look, what can I tell you? It's been a bloody pleasure as ever having you on the show. Please don't hesitate to send her a message. She's very good at responding, and overall, a really, really high percentage of the tenders that she puts through actually succeed. So I would absolutely say you should spend some time talking with Madam Tender Response herself Vicky Poole. Until the next time we encounter each other, please make sure you keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and please look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.